Just before you start again, we can also.
Yeah.
Oh, you started. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
Started
I crop it out.
Yeah, sure, of course. So I'm an e-commerce SEO. Like I'm specialized in technical side, which is because most of the e-commerce websites are quite huge, they are quite big. So like crawling issues in this indexation and crawl budget is something where you are where you are like concerned, like because generally when you are having like small websites, especially B2B websites, these are something which is like you really don't have to worry about. Like on those 15 to 20 page websites, that doesn't really matter. But like when you're working on e-commerce, there are like thousands of pages, and then every day you are adding more products. Every day your products are going out of stock, or if you're removing it from the inventory. So there's a lot of pages. So the technical part is really important. It's really important in e-commerce SEO, because you have to like keep checking what are the old like pages that like which are not basically out of stock, which is like completely like out from your inventory, or you're not planning to sell them again, so you have to keep removing them. And then in e-commerce pages, because most of the time we don't have much time to focus on each products, so we are like, that's the reason. I mean, what I'm trying to say, like, we can definitely will be moving on to that part like later, but like technical is really important when it comes to e-commerce. And the second part is like every e-commerce works for revenue, for conversions. And this is why I'm also a CRO, which is conversion rate optimization. And there are many qualitative and quantitative approach in this process to optimize those conversions and get the most out of your traffic that you already own.
So you said conversion optimization. How is SEO different from conversion optimization?
Yeah, because conversion optimization also have certain things that comes from the UX part. So I know that UX is also somehow, they say that like user experience is important for SEO, but it's like not exactly a part of SEO. So like if I would say, like, if you are running a company which is like already having a specialized design team, that's the one who would be responsible for your UX part. But when it comes to conversion rate optimization, it is something which is like that SEO part, which is like more of strategies, and then the design part, which is like more like design and the implementation. So these two departments combine together to the CRO. That's why this is a bit more technical, because we also use many elements from both the sides, both the teams.
Okay, and do you want to talk me through the way you would optimize an e-commerce platform?
So I think it's quite. I think I just already gave you a quick brief when we started the meeting. I said, e-commerce website have have many products, or even if it's not many products. Let's say you are running a boutique store or like a small store, one product side or something. Yeah, but like it's still completely different from B2B, because this is where like there are different approach. I'm talking about not from the SEO side, also from the creative or the strategic side. Like when you are working for a, like, let's say a B2B company, which is a SaaS company, let's say, so you're working more on screenshots, usability, or social proofs like testimonials. But on e-commerce, you are like, you are like working more with pictures, or offers, sales, these sort of things, which where you're playing. So it's a combined effort. So like, yeah, but most of the e-commerce website that we work on are at least 400 to 500 pages, I would say, averagely. And like these are the sites which are like, let's say a niche store, maybe like a running niche, or a fashion small store or something like that. So in such places, we generally find, like, whenever we start to work with them, we see a lot of technical issues that happens there. We see a lot of pages that don't add any value, but they are still wasting their core budget. So like some old product pages that they don't sell anymore. But it's like, this is one of the this is what I call it, what Brian Dean call it, the zombie pages. Like these are just zombie pages. They just have, like, they're dead, and they won't add any value. So I mean, yeah. So these are the things which I will also talk in my cheat sheet later on, and let me know if you'll have any follow-up questions in that. So like, yeah, it's just a complete different approach, complete different strategies when you are working with an e-commerce as compared to the B2B. But I would still say that every time when you're working in any sort of website, never forget these SEO fundamentals. That always remains the same. Like, people just like, in this, like, how fast paced this SEO industry is right now. People are going for new methods, new approach, new testings, but sometimes they just forget the basic stuffs like, the optimized titles and H1s and meta tags. These are fundamentals. They remain the same. So apart from that, it's just like your creative and strategic approach that you apply on different type of platforms or websites.
Yeah, I actually remember, so what you just said about never forgetting the fundamentals. When I was just starting out, I remember asking you about core web vitals because I was focusing on them, and you said, why are you thinking about that already? Just look at the page and see if they have CTAs even, so call to action signals. And I didn't even realize that, you were just like, look at the website and that's it,
Exactly. Yeah, I remember that moment because you were like Mo, no, the core web vitals, and I was like, Kira, I can literally say
Yeah.
hundreds of issues right there on that page. Like, why are you just going to something really more complex? I know that core web vitals are important, but just like, there are certain things that you have to prioritize when you are working with a company or any clients. Like if I onboard a client, and I have to give them that push that results from the beginning, from
Mhm.
in the first month.
Mhm.
So there are priorities that you have to do so that you can start giving them results. And imagine if you're like not doing the fundamentals and you start going something more complex, which
Mhm.
is also a bit long time taking task to implement. So if you just spend 1 or 2 months in that part, like most probably there won't be much difference in the traffic. And this is where I think the clients can also get frustrated because they are working with you for
Mhm.
2 months and they can't really see much of the results. So
Mhm.
that's why, those fundamentals are something which can which I believe is more critical, because first it fixes your website, like it eliminates technical issues, but
Mhm.
and then it also allows you to rank for some more keywords, more relevant on more relevant SERPs.
Mhm.
So it's like it's good to start the push, and then of course above one by one you can focus on the content, which I think should be the second priority, and moving on to something more complex like conversion rate optimization, core web vitals, page loadings. This is something which can be third priority, especially when you're working with e-commerce. It also depends on the team like you're working on, like, because if you are a freelancer, you
Mhm.
have to prioritize every single thing, because there's some, your roadmap is long, your KPIs would be quite, because the process would be slower. But I think if you're working in a more complex structure, like bigger team, where you have multiple departments, so things are much easier. You can just distribute all these meta tags content to the content team. You can create the initial strategy. You can start with the outreaches and
Mhm.
everything that will already start giving you those ranks. If you
Mhm.
have a dev team, you can ask them to fix the core web vitals. You can give them recommendation. So like, yeah, it depends what sort of structure are you working in. So
Mhm.
based on that, you have to find your own approach.
Yeah, I was just going to say that SEO, it does take time, doesn't it? But we as specialists would know that. But you want to show the client that things are happening as well, because you can't just say, just wait, wait 6 months to see the difference. So I think that's a really good point that you mentioned, that you need to go out for these quick wins just so you can see a difference, and then you get into all the difficult things. I do live by that. So just a bit of context for everyone before we continue. I I have an Instagram for this venture. I don't know if you've seen it, where I talk about my journey, different SEO tips, and one post was about me at Rampic, which is where we used to work before. And I mentioned my mentor, the person who helped me through everything and like taught me from day one. And you are that person, just for everyone. So yeah, every piece of advice that you've ever told me in those few months, I still think about it. I still use it. Like when I look at a client's website, I'm like, Mo says, look at the CTAs, look at the simple things. So yeah, that your lessons have been super useful. I feel like if I didn't have that foundation with your help, I wouldn't be doing this.
Uh, Thank you so much, Kira. But I just want to tell the viewers that, like, if honestly, like Kira was one of the, like I would say a fresher in SEO, that like who was such, like, she was really like fast learner. And you were ambitious, by the way. Like you were like, I wouldn't learn this, and I wouldn't learn this, and I wouldn't learn. And sometimes I was like, Kira, slow down. This is like too fast. but I think you never did. You never slowed down, and I think which is like not could have been bad, but I think you just like grasped everything. Uh, yeah, it was quite fast. Like you covered almost every important factors for on page. You
Mhm,
even moved on to the off page like outreach, because we have a different sort of structure in our company
mhm,
where we work. So I can understand. And then at the same time, you were also doing contents, which is that includes copywriting. So
mhm,
all of the thing like that was like a lot of things to take in at
mhm,
and especially being a fresher in SEO.
mhm.
So like yeah, it was just like I was proud like, oh, you just did it. I mean, wow,
The proud
everything
mentor.
is
Yeah,
working
and
so.
you also said content. So content writing is a really good way to get into SEO as a beginner. And I remember I got quite angry about it, and I said, I don't want to write. I don't want to write SEO content. I want to do SEO. But again, you were right. So you were
I
100%
think
as always.
I think if I don't know if you know this, but as you know that I am a self starter as well, like a
Mhm,
self starter SEO, and I was also doing copywriting before I came into this field.
mhm,
So for me, I was like into digital marketing, social media, copywriting, just like these two, social media and copywriting. But then I started working more on like copywriting, because I started like scaling my client and my portfolio in tech and SaaS
mhm,
niche. So this is where like I started building up my profile, and I realized that like, oh, there's much more to copywriting than we think there is. So I started learning more about like like titles, meta titles, meta descriptions, cross linking, internal linking, external linking. So these were the basics of copywriting that I learned from my mentor, who was like from USA. And I also follow her a lot because she taught me a lot of things. So this is where it started for me. Like it was like these things were quite fascinating for me. Like what are these that we have to use in copywriting so that we can rank more?
mhm,
So yeah, I started learning more about like, okay, so what are the other things that can help me rank more? And I
mhm,
came into this SEO field, and this is where I started following Brian Dean, Backlinko. I was following Moz and Moz blog, and I was also following Neil Patel, because these are my three top blogs that I follow.
mhm,
And but I would still say like among these, if you just follow Brian Dean's website complete, like if you get thorough it, like go through it completely, I think that's enough for you to start the SEO. I won't say like it's the complete SEO, but it's enough to make you a SEO starter, I would say. So
mhm,
that was the same thing with me. So I just like went page to page, every word to word, and I was like, okay, I think I just want something more than just on page. So I
mhm,
started like, because I was still a part of the digital nomad community, so I
mhm,
started asking my colleagues to give me some work for free, just for my learning. So and then with this, like I was like, okay, I started working on, because I already knew how to work on WordPress and all these things. So I started working on websites straight away, like content, like
mhm,
fixing up those content, keyword insertions, like optimizing those titles, keyword research. And this is how it got started. And then I got started getting my own clients. So I was doing a freelancer for a while
mhm.
until the COVID happened. Everyone stopped traveling. Digital nomad community was the one of the most, I would say, like struck due to COVID. And
Yeah.
then I think this is where I started my full-time career. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
are we still in the introduction phase or what?
I've no idea. I've no idea. I'm enjoying the story though. It just went from, oh yes, we'll talk about e-commerce to, oh, I was a digital nomad, but it's whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's get back to e-commerce SEO. Do you just want to talk us through all the expert advice and the expert tips? Because I obviously don't know that much about it, so it would be really useful for me and everyone else.
I think, yeah. So whenever you are doing an e-commerce SEO, like
Mhm,
before, because every website
mhm,
requires those strategic and those creative part in the SEO, which and that depends on your personal expertise, your niche, your understanding of the business, your audience, everything. But so I would say like before going on to that part, I think the first thing is like those fundamentals that I mentioned before. Like everything should be on point. Your titles, meta descriptions, product descriptions.
mhm,
So there are certain things that you can follow if you are working on an e-commerce website. So for example, I would start with like uh, like keyword research. So whenever you are doing a keyword research for an e-commerce website, make sure you go for keywords that have more buying intent. For example, go for keywords such as buy, a shop, or near me, or these sort of keywords are having more buying intentions. So they can actually bring you more conversions or more revenue rather than more general keywords or broad keywords. This is something which you have to avoid in e-commerce, because imagine if you are just like, if you just take a normal like running shoes, there can be many intentions behind that running shoes. Some people would be like would need that for to buy running shoes. Someone would just want to learn about that. Someone would just want some pictures. So the more broader category you would go, the more different type of audience and different sort of intentions people would have while searching that keyword. So go like narrow it down. It really doesn't matter if your volume becomes from 2000 to 500 or 100. It doesn't matter, but like your audience will be more refined and more converting than the general audience. So yeah, that's the number one like golden rule while you're doing the keyword research. And when you're doing keyword allocation, so this is what I like always tell to my clients and like people who ask me like, how do you allocate keywords on on e-commerce websites? So I think the strategy which I go for and which mostly work is, like as you mentioned, that I was mentioning some of the general keywords, like like I would say, like accessories, or some sort of like, if it's a clothing store, it's just a normal clothing store, or like activewear clothing, whatever the niche is, just use a bit general on homepage. And then you have category pages. So you can also use some of them, like some buying intent and some general, like for example, if you have men clothing, women clothing, kids clothing, like, or like to have, or if your website is categorizing like running shorts or t-shirts. So go for, again, some general ones, like with buying intention, like buy running shorts. You can localize the allocations and research as well. Like for example, if your store only works in UK, so you can actually find some keywords like how, like, buy running shorts or buy running shoes in UK. Or you can even go more, you can narrow it down even further. If you have that enough keyword volume, you can also go to more area or even cities, like just keep narrowing it down, so that always don't drift apart from, like from your target audience or your target place where you work. So these are things which it's really important, and this is where your entire SEO begins. So this is a really important phase of the entire SEO roadmap. Your keyword research should be on point, and should be like be enough to bring conversions, and get you users from target areas if you're working on specific areas. So yeah, and then I think once you're done with keyword allocation, you can focus on, yeah, and while you're allocating, you can focus on product pages, like one or two keywords. And like imagine, if you are there can be different strategies when you are allocating keywords on product pages. Like if I have just a normal e-commerce store where I'm selling a lot of products from different brands, it's best to use those brand keywords, and then you can just like make some changes in that. So for example, if I'm like selling an iPhone 12, so I would say like buy iPhone 12, 256, whatever that specific specification would be, like everything, not just the general one, in those title and description. And then I can also customize a bit, and I localize it if I'm really looking for that localization, like buying, let's say, iPhone 12 online in London or something like that. So like we can do this. Or like imagine, if you're a small brand and you're a store where you're just like selling homemade candles, and your brand name is not so big, so you really can't focus on the branded keywords. This is where you can actually just focus on the general ones, but with buying intention, I mean. So you can just like buy homemade candles, and then you can, based on your more.
I got a question about keywords. So how do you know, or how do you measure whether it's due to your keyword research and keyword optimization that you're converting, if that makes sense?
Uh, yeah, I know this is something where our data, like the analytics that we have, especially I would say Search Console lacks. But
Mhm.
I think you can look at other like different things. Like you have your mapping for like your mapping like sheet where you can put like your URL and what are the keywords that you're targeting on. So you can analyze like after 3 month or 4 month time, you can actually analyze them on Google Analytics. I think that's something which everyone have, and you can just check like what the bounce rates.
Mhm.
Did the bounce rate improve from, or like the or like how much amount of traffic you're getting, and then how much amount of conversions you're getting. There are industry standards. It can start from, let's say, 0.75% to even go up to like 1% or 2% of percent like CTRs conversions. So there are many approach where you can actually do that assessment.
Mhm.
And this is where I always also say that testing is really important in SEO, because most of our assumptions are like most our implementations are based on assumptions, based on like hypotheses. Like
Mhm.
you never know if this keyword would work, because maybe your product might be slightly different from the keyword that you're already targeting there, or maybe your like there can be minor differences that can actually like not
Mhm.
be like completely relevant for that keyword. So this is where you need that testing, so you can check like if you are, let's say, targeting 3 keywords in the women category section, and you think that categories is not like those are like getting a lot of traffic, might not be giving you a lot of conversions. Try changing that keywords to something else. Try something else. So keep testing, and
Mhm.
you would know that what sort of keyword would work. But yeah, I would agree that like it's really impossible for you to break it down to
Mhm.
the individual level, to that keyword, like how which keyword brings conversion. But there's a trick again, an
Mm.
e-commerce trick, especially, or any trick. I would say it can work in any company. It can work in B2B as well.
Mhm.
Like if your niche has a problem of like you really can't tell what sort of keywords work, and what sort of like like what sort of keyword would work. Or maybe there are situations in some niches where you don't have much volume.
Mhm.
You like you just have like 5 10 sorry 10 or 12, like 20, I would say. Like it's just like all those general keywords would have like a maximum volume of 50 or 40 monthly, and then most of the keywords, if you try to break it down, have nothing. This is
Mhm.
where you can actually use the PPC campaign data. So this must be your internal data if
Mhm.
you are running a PPC campaign, I would say. I mean, like if you don't have PPC campaign, that can be a bit difficult for you. But if you go to PPC campaign and check what are the keywords that you use, you
Mhm.
can check what sort of keywords brought traffic. So on PPC campaign, you can actually measure each keyword individually,
Mm.
and that brought traffic. So you can actually use that data to see what sort of keywords that brought traffic. You can either use those same keywords if those are enough, or you can use like you can find the similarities from your keyword research and those keywords that brought traffic, and then you can use those similar keywords on your and allocate them. So that can give you an idea what sort of keywords actually perform in your
Mhm.
company, like
Mhm.
in your niche. And I would say the best example was like when I was working for a company which was working for a greenhouse niche,
Mhm.
and they had many sort of keywords. Like they were like glass and polycarbonate and plastic, big, small sizes, every sort of keyword. And we were so confused. What should we focus on? So we just checked the PPC data. We realized that like hobby, a word was like hobby greenhouse was something which was performing. Greenhouse kits was something that was performing.
Mhm.
So they gave us the idea that okay, these sort of keywords performed. So we just found those similar keywords on our keyword research, try
Mhm.
to check like which was like having those hobby or
Mhm.
kits in the keyword research, and then we started allocating them, and we actually brought more conversions from
Mhm.
those organic traffic.
That was interesting. And now that we're on the topic of keywords, so earlier I said that I don't know anything about e-commerce SEO when I work with 15 e-commerce clients. So that was a complete lie. But I just panicked. I don't know why I said that. But I saw a trend with clients that I work with and a lot of our ex-clients working with other companies now, is that there was a mass loss of keywords, and it wasn't tens or hundreds, it was thousands of keywords if it's a big brand. So there's an alcohol, I'm pretty sure it was a beer business,
Mhm,
and they've lost,
mhm,
I think, 3 to 4,000 keywords Uh, do you know why that would be, or what assumptions can we make from that?
So this is where, as an SEO, you have to do those like research, and you have to keep tracking your niche. So
Mhm.
I think there are different approach to that. I mean, first of all, there are some core that algorithm keeps changing. They are
Mhm.
Google. I always say that Google is quite moody, always moody. So they can just like give you. They can be, they can Chris Rock you anytime.
Oh, that too
so
soon, Mo. Too soon.
so actually, yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's just a popular meme. So I just like wanted to bring this here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like that there can be many reasons for that. So the core updates that happens on Google algorithms are just like Google just reshuffling those pages, maybe because they have some knowledge update, some knowledge graph update, or they must be having some, like some fixing, like some tweaking in their intent, like intent, like bots or something, that can like give you more relevant results. So these are something which is just a core update, no reasons given, but
Mm,
you can just see massive fluctuations happening. So
mhm,
this is core updates. This is something which is really annoying, because whenever the core update happens, you just have to investigate a lot further, and then you have to follow those big websites, especially like Moss, Turbulence, and
mhm,
all these big influencers, because they are the one who are having that massive collection data of those websites. So they come up with like, okay, so this core update happened. I'm sorry, not the vital core
mhm,
update happened, and we found out that the liquor niche, I would say, was the most affected, or the healthcare niche was most affected. So,
mhm,
and then they just break it down to like top 5 or top 10 niche that were affected in this recent core update, and then you have to connect your client with that. Like, was it my client in this recent core update? Apart
mhm,
from that, there are many tiny e-commerce like update also keep happening, and I would say and they are happening quite a lot from last year. So the first one was actually the product update, which was actually focusing on reviews,
mhm,
and then they had like a tweak in that update. So in that review update, they wanted to focus more on high quality reviews, which was like big, something which is more detailed, something which is more, like not just like a single liner, which
mhm,
is actually not considered to be such a good review.
mhm,
So there were priorities. So first of all, like they were like Google started prioritizing pages that had reviews. So
mhm,
review snippet was also quite important, as you can know. And
mm,
then after that, like in among those review, which have more reviews, and then which have more detailed reviews. So they were just keep prioritizing. This was a time when many websites saw massive downfall, because
mm,
most of the new stores were lacking reviews. They don't have enough traffic, they don't have enough sales, so that they can do that, like they to have those reviews.
mhm,
And then like yeah, it's the same thing. Then it happened. Then there was recently in November, then that like the core of vital recommended, the update was supposed to happen in June, but they were implemented somewhere in November, December. So
mhm,
again, that was one of the reasons why a lot of traffic like fell again, because some of the websites were really slow. And
mhm,
I think it's really important for e-commerce stores. I'm again, because I'm telling you, because if you go and look at the data, industry data research, most of the e-commerce users are using cell phones to buy.
mhm,
And if your website is not optimized for mobile, that can really hurt your conversions and your rankings as well,
mhm.
because Google won't give you that priority. But most of your audience are on the cell phone, so they must be like your mobile version should be optimized.
Yeah, no, that is very true. And I'm thinking now, because some e-commerce websites are brand new, they've been around for say
Mhm.
2 weeks, and we've got others who have been in business for 15 years. So what keywords would you use? And is there a difference of keywords that you'd use for a small e-commerce business versus a big one?
Uh, I think there won't be much difference in the type of keywords I would use. I think the only thing that would just a bit concern me would be like how difficult is it to rank for. So
Mm,
I think I will still keep the type of keyword, like if I'm using those buying intention keywords, I would still keep the same, but I would just keep looking for something more easier because
Mhm.
it's easier to rank,
Mhm.
and I can give them faster results. So I think, yeah, that's the only thing I would look in
Mhm.
among the keyword matrix.
Mhm.
And yeah, but no changes in the keywords whatsoever.
Yeah, because I've seen when you implement long tail keywords for smaller businesses, it's a lot easier to rank, obviously, because
Hmm.
most of the time the search
Hmm.
volume is less. So at least they're ranking. But then if you want to rank for keyword 3D printer, for example, and you've been around for
Hmm.
2 weeks, that's never going to happen if you're selling 3D printers.
Exactly. I would come back to this, like how you can actually give a push to smaller stores, because I
Mm.
think I've done that for a few clients that like where which we started everything from scratch, and we actually gave them like an increase in revenue from $500 to $5,000. So that was like a massive increase.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I think before that I will just finish the cheat sheet, because I think just to there are very small points left. So
Yeah,
I
go.
think I've already mentioned about the product pages, where you can actually focus on what sort of keywords you would be focusing on. Apart from that, you can also, if possible, because I know that whenever you are working on bigger stores, I'm mostly, when I'm giving you the example, I'm giving for bigger stores because it's something that's more difficult to manage, I would say, and implement. So most of the time when you're working with those products, you generally um, you generally copy those products from their relevant like from the pages. For example, if you're running Adidas shoes, Nike shoes, and Puma shoes, and you can just you go to Nike Air Force, let's say, copy their content, then paste it on your website, and then you go to the Adidas store. So most of the commerce projects clients that we work on have a lot of duplicate issues, because most of their content are stolen or copied. So this is what I say, like, you don't really have to go for that for a start. You really don't have to go for that massive big description.
Mhm.
Start with something unique. Start with 200 to 300 word long description, but
Mhm.
keep it unique
Mhm.
for your own like shoes, for your own product, for your own website. Even though if it's a branded product, it doesn't matter. You can just like come up with like, the features, you can go read the content, you can understand what the product is all about, and then
Mhm.
you can make your own version of the description. So it's
Mhm.
just unique. You're not uh, you know giving false information or something. It's just the same. So you can try this approach, and then there are many aspects of UX that's really important on product page, because this is where your most of the conversion happens. It doesn't happen on your home page. It won't happen on your category pages. It will happen on your product pages. So
Mm.
this is where really clear picture is something you have to, like, you note it down. Clear picture, compressed. So they should be compressed, because most of the time when we are optimizing page for speed, like websites for speed, we compromise the quality of the image. That's the reason why I say use compressed but still high quality images. And for that, I think the best one is WebP. It's a new like next gen image format
Mhm.
that can actually help you keep your high quality image in very low sizing. So
Mhm.
WebP can help. And then go for sharp image, clear background, like play with colors, play with contrast. Pictures is something where you have to apply more of your creative side rather than your, like the technical or the
Yeah.
SEO side.
Yeah.
And then this is also where your conversion rate optimization is comes to action. So you, like, if you will start using Google Optimize, I would really, like, urge everyone who's watching this video that go to Google Optimize platform. It's super easy. You can just like set it up, just like you set Search Console and analytics. I think it is not that technical for you, so just set it up. It's such an easy platform. Like, you can actually import one of your page. They have their own, it's like a website builder, I would say, which is inside Google Optimize, that can allow you to tweak your pages. So you
Mhm.
can play with headings, you can play with colors, you can play with CTA buttons, you can play with placements, you can play with every. So what I would say is, like, just take for, like, just go for like one like work with for one. Don't go for one product, just like work for an overall template.
Mhm.
Take your template, so you stick any random page from your website, make 3 or 4 versions of those pages with different, like placements of like where your heading should be, where your images should be. You just like place it in different places, and just run a Google Optimize testing. for multivariate testing, and that will just give you the data like what sort of placements are working the best for you. So you would know that what sort of pages are performing on your page, like what's the structure of the page that performs. So that can actually help you restructure, redesign your page that can actually convert. And I urge everyone, because it's not so technical as it sounds, and everyone can be a CRO starter, and that can be really beneficial if you are an e-commerce SEO. So like, yeah. And I would, yeah, so apart from product pages, the same thing is goes with, yeah, URLs is something which is really important again. And everyone know that it's a ranking factor, but when you're working in an e-commerce company, you have to structure it. You have to structure so website architecture plays an important role. So before we move on to the slug part, you should know that there is a golden rule in architecture for every website, that none of your page should be like deeper than 3 clicks. So like, yeah, you should be like, you can get them within those 3. So this is something which is really important when it comes to the e-commerce SEO, because in e-commerce, every user journey starts with product discovery. So if the user won't be able to discover your products, he or she is never going to convert. So product discovery is important, and for that product discovery, everything should be optimized that he should be there where he's supposed to be. And this is where your architecture plays important. So proper categorize your website. Go with subcategories. Don't go for like many sub. Don't go for that. Like categories, subcategories, products. That's all. So if there's a homepage, structure your category properly. There should be drop downs for subcategories, and then from subcategories, you should straight have a collection page so that a person can straight away go to the product pages. Should be the structure for every e-commerce.
What if there is a product, but it's in multiple categories? Does that have a negative impact on site?
Actually, that's something which I wanted to say was, actually, it's good. It's really, really good to have one single product on multiple categories. I would come to this part like just next, because first I will let me explain the URL part, so that
okay,
I'm
like jumping the gun as always.
Okay. Yeah, but I think that's a really good question though. Like that's the really good question. I think you just gave me like a reminder that like how we can improve the product discovery. But before that, like, so whenever you are working on the URL, when you are structuring the website, make sure that like it's your homepage, and then there should be a slash, and your main category, for example, there's men, and then there should be a slash, and then you can make a template for that. And then after that, like you can have a subcategory keywords, which is like shoes, and then you can go for like the products, something like that. Or like imagine if you are trying to have a shoes, and then you have many different type of shoes, right? Like you have sports shoes, and you have running, like casual shoes and sneakers and boots and stuff like that. So it's better to like give them a filter option so that they can filter them. At the same time, you can also have another category just for footwears. So these products can be found in different ways and can help user to find that product. So I think this answers your question. So keep your one product into different categories. This will allow you to do like 2 things. The first one is like it will actually improve your product discovery. People can reach you via men and then shoes, or they can actually go through footwears and men and something like that. Like different ways to reach there. And it will also allow you to use more keywords on your website, because whenever it comes to e-commerce, you need those different versions of the keywords, and it's not always possible to use them on certain pages. For example, if you are looking at that men and then slash footwears, so it's really hard for me to use a keyword that would be sneakers, or that would be about boots. But if I'm coming from the footwear section, so I can actually first of all target footwears, then I can actually go for men, so I can actually target men footwears, and then type of footwear, so I can actually target boots keywords, and then the sneakers keywords, and then the running keyword shoes keywords. So it gives us so much more options to use different sort of keywords. And remember, the more relevant that keyword is, the more conversions you're gonna get. And at the same time, that you can't really use a lot of keywords, because it's really difficult to rank for each each page. So that page should be really aligning with the keywords. So if you would try to use all these keywords in that just men footwear, I don't think it will rank. It might rank for hardly 3 or 4 keywords, the
Mm-hmm.
main ones. I'm not talking about the LSI ones. And then it might not just give you, because Google won't find the relevancy. It
Mm-hmm.
won't find the amount of content. It needs to rank for, let's say, a casual shoes or a sneakers, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, play with your categories a lot, and then try to like use multiple categories, because it can actually increase the chance of getting discovered.
Interesting. And you
Mhm.
said that about site depth, so it shouldn't go beyond 3. What if there's a website and someone, an SEO specialist, is looking through and you've got pages that are 10 clicks deep? What do you do then? What would be your...
we com- we This is where we actually start like give them the recommendation of site restructure.
Mm,
And in this site restructure, we start like dive deep into their data, understand the audience niche. We do competitors research as well, and then we restructure the entire website with, like, new categories. We recommend new categories. We
mhm,
recommend the subcategories of those categories. And then it's like a complete, you could say, not a migration, but I would say restructure. And then we put 301s, and
mhm.
then we change the entire site map of the website, and so that it's like completely structured. So yeah, that's a bit techy, and you need a lot of dev time, developer support,
Mhm,
and a lot of mapping.
mhm,
Yeah, because like everything, there are 301s, 30, because you'll be changing those pages. So
mhm.
like, yeah, but we restructure them back to 3 4 pages. Yeah, sometimes we also have clients that have like 4 pages down deep, and sometimes we don't find it like so important, so we just like uh, try to keep it as a low priority. But
Mhm.
I say that for e-commerce, it's really important, because most of your products should be not more than 3 deep.
Yeah.
And this is and I think, yeah, this also gave me a really a good example, because that is pagination. Because you know that, like, when you're working with paginated pages, you can go like 2 3 4 5 6 7. No one goes, like, I think the study says no one goes beyond 3, or like very less people who can go +3. I would say like maybe 1% or less than 1% is there can be different data for different niche. I think I'm talking about more general data.
Mhm.
So I believe that, imagine again, if that footwear was there, and then all sort of footwears was on that footwear page, so you know how much amount of products you would have, like 1 2 3, maybe, I don't know how much. But from the footwear side, if you can actually break down those footwear products into um like boots, and then sneakers, and then running shoes, so you are actually reducing the paginated pages.
Mhm.
You might just like finish up in this 2 page, or maybe a single page, so
Mhm.
a user might find everything there. I know that. And this is also where filter place comes into an important. So like, yeah, if your e-commerce don't have filters, put it right now, because you are actually messing up with user experience.
Yeah.
Without filters, everything can be quite messy. If it's a huge, it's a big store.
Yeah, I guess the whole point of an e-commerce website should be to make it accessible for your potential customers to find your
Hmm.
stuff. So that is the first thing to think about. Okay, interesting. And I just had a thought. What about breadcrumbs? How useful is that for an e-commerce website?
Again, just like breadcrumb, which is important for any other website, and it has a two use. First of all, it's really helpful for search engines, for
Mm-hmm.
crawlers.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly, it's really important for really more, I think it's more beneficial for e-commerce again.
Mm-hmm.
Because imagine when you go to a website, and then you move on to the, like, men, then t-shirts, and then like casual t-shirts, and then you are just sort of checking a page, and then you just like really don't want to, like, go for the home page or the search bar and everything. So you can just like, from that breadcrumbs, you can just skip back to, let's say, a subcategory or a category or something. So that can actually, I think that improves navigation.
Mm-hmm.
And navigation is important for any customer journey.
Mm-hmm. Can you quickly tell everyone what breadcrumbs are? Because I've kind of brushed through it. I wonder if everyone knows what they are. So can you?
So I mean, breadcrumbs is, I think if you know the story Hansel and Gretel, it's just like, it just shows you the path you followed to reach the page that you are viewing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just like, uh, you weren't at home page and then you just like went straight to a product,
Mm-hmm.
it can like, I don't like, I've seen breadcrumbs work in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I've seen website where, like, if I go to the product straight away from homepage, it actually shows me my current path that I followed. I hope
Mm-hmm.
you understand. Like, it says home, and then it just shows the product name, which is quite confusing because I mean, more logical but still confusing. Logical, why? Because it actually followed your path,
Mm-hmm.
which is like more custom. But I've also seen website where I just go to any product, but it shows me the entire journey, like from home, like where this product is located, like men, and then let's say, like shoes, and then running shoes, and then my products.
Mm-hmm.
So it just like, sometimes, like, I don't know how it works. I'm not much of a like developer, so sometimes maybe there can be a difference with like the custom codes maybe, but I still believe
Mm-hmm.
that the better version is the version where it shows you the complete path.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you go to a product from the homepage, and then you can see all the other like categories and subcategories, you can actually help them to, like, if he wants to see some more similar products, he can just click that subcategory from the breadcrumbs, and he would just like view everything again. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's a better version of the breadcrumbs. So again, I think your question was like what it is. It just shows you the path you
Mm-hmm.
followed to your current. Those are
Mm-hmm.
just links.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm thinking about products on every page. So let's take, I don't know, candles, like you said, for example. Is there a certain number of products per page that is better for SEO, or you can just have 50 products a page and that's fine? Or should it be 3 to 5, for example?
Again, a really good question. And I think, again, there are no golden numbers, there are no golden rules. This is where testing is important. This is where I say start doing CRO,
Mm-hmm.
start using 10 pages, products per page, go for 20, go for 15, go for 5, like just test.
Mm-hmm.
Every niche could be different, every audience could be different, like it can also depends on the sizing of those product cards you have. It can be like, sometimes they can be small, quite small, that like your details are not like, or like just like test different versions. I always urge people to test, because it's really difficult to just give you those numbers that
Mm-hmm.
can be, like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, can be different for different niche, I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah, that's fair enough. And should
mhm.
you be putting more popular products at the top and ones that
Mhm.
don't, yeah? So you kind of want
Mhm.
to put
This
your
is what
best foot
this is. This is, yeah, because I think that I'm a really analytical person. I'm like really dive into like deep into data, and there can be many different analytics that you can do apart from your website analytics.
forward. Mm-hmm.
I was about to move on to this part. There are different type of analytics,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of them is like really, really, really important for e-commerce. But apart from that, like, there are many other things which you have to see, like, yeah, like your inventory analytics.
Mm-hmm.
Your inventory analytics give you a bigger picture on what sort of like, products you sell, what sort of products are popular, what sort of the product like your audience are
Mm-hmm.
look like,
Mm-hmm.
so this is where you can actually restructure your product pages, so you can actually, or put all those, like, better stuffs on top, so that they really don't have to go further. Or you can, the same thing, you can also try to, what we call the upselling. You can also try to feature them on homepage. You can also try to feature them on category pages, like some of our top sellers, check it out. Or some of our, like, like editorial pick, or something like, you can just like come up with some different catchy captions and CTAs, and you can upsell them.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, you can also like use the product pages to show similar products and feature products as well. So wherever there is opportunity, try to show more products, because it's important for you
Mm-hmm.
to like, because user might not be satisfied like at once with one project, and you have to give him alternatives, so that until he finds that perfect product, he's not going to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And if like you're not giving him the opportunity to find the other similar product, he might just like leave your website because he won't be like doing research again and again. He won't be scrolling again and again. He won't be, like typing again and again. He would just be like, okay, he's just viewing one product. And then with those suggestions, he would keep on switching until he finds one. I think that's how a better user experience works, right? Rather than like going through the entire website just to find one product, which is, I think, less chance of conversion. So apart from in inventory analytics, I was just about to say when I was working, I think when I was telling you about the category restructure, don't forget site search analytics. Site search analytics, why is it important? Because like imagine if you have keyword data for your entire niche, most of the users are your strangers because they might not be on your website. So you just don't know what sort of things might work for your audience, because it's a general data, it's just like a data from your niche. But imagine you have certain users on your website and you want to know what they are doing, what they are looking for, the audience that you already own, not those potential audience. So this is where your site search analytics can actually help you, because it can give you those terms that people used on your website. So this can actually help you understand like, oh, the users that come on my website are looking for this. So you can actually structure them. And then there can be many ways how you can play with that data. For example, like if you saw that there are terms which is like gift for her or gift for him, or something, like something like that, or gift for Christmas. So you can actually come up with a complete different category, like gift for her or gift for him. And then you can group some of your product, and then you can actually use certain keywords like gift for him for something like, in your niche. At the same time, imagine if they are looking for something quite specific products. So try to list those products, and then you can actually feature them on your homepage or your category pages. Like, data can be used in many different ways. One of the example that I want to give you, I realized that when I was working for a clothing store, a lot of people, because it was a running store, so it was not sort of the brand that we generally hear, like they were not Puma or Adidas or Nike. They were more like Ultra, Dynafit, something which was like more related to sports brands. And there were certain ones. So, like sometimes when we are working in certain projects, we are not completely aware of the niche, right? We just try to learn the niche and then make those implementations. So I realized that there were certain brands that were more popular than the other brands that we have, especially in the shoes section. So we started featuring them like shop by brands. This is where we first started the category. And now this is one of the most popular category on that client, shop by brands. People actually want to shop by brands. And this was never on his website, on our client website, and we never thought about it unless we saw the site search analytics. So data can give you a lot of more possibilities and opportunities that you might be missing. So don't forget site search analytics.
True. And how do you find these search terms? What tools would you use to find the popular search terms?
I mean,